Hi, I'm RC Jim, and I've got something exciting to share with you today about this little guy. Little Lemon RX receiver. Nothing new about them, right? Well, there is with this one. This is a Gen 2, and you now, with your Lemon receiver, can program it using your radio transmitter. Either the Spektrum or Radiomaster, other EdgeTX type radios. You can do the programming of the receiver right on the transmitter. I want to tell you all about that, so stay tuned. Well, this is the new Lemon RX Gen 2 receiver. Doesn't look any different than the old ones because, of course, is the 7-channel one. There's also a 10-channel one that has another thing like this on this end with some of the serial connections there and the other ones out here. If you didn't know any better, you'd say this is no different than the old one. In fact, you could use it exactly the same as the old one. Use the buttons and watch the lights, and it still works the same way. Still has the pots for adjusting the stabilization gain. All of that is much the same. But what is different is having to do with the programming in it, and that's something that's going to allow you to use your transmitter to be able to program a lot more in here than what you could with just pushing the buttons before, and it also lets you see what's going on. Of course, as with the other ones, when you get your receiver, you get a little voltage probe that plugs into the telemetry port up here, and that you plug into the balance connector on your battery, and that allows the telemetry to send the battery voltage back to the transmitter to alert you to that. Comes with some double stick tape to stick it on, and with a bind plug. But what we're excited about is what's new, and that is this programming. Okay, so how do we go about getting this going and setting things up? Well, first off, whichever radio you've got, we need to make sure we've got a model in there that we can use. And so you'll pick a model. So I've just got the Acro one and the DX transmitter here. And what we want to do is to make sure that we've got plus 100, minus 100, well, I guess this one is the other way, isn't it? Plus 100, minus 100, plus 100, minus 100, and so forth. We need 100 each way on the control throws. So if you just want to check quickly, you can go over here to the monitor, and this shows me that I've got, and it could be 101. That's not going to be a drama. But anyway, you want it very close to 100, and I think you might have a problem if it's below 100. Okay, I can see right offhand on the aileron I've got, minus 100, plus 100, and I find that's interesting, and that to me that's kind of backwards, but anyway, it is what it is. But it's 100 each way, so that's the important thing. On the rudder, I've got plus 100, minus 100, and on the throttle, this has got minus 102. I guess I want to be extra safe, and plus 100. So those are all close enough. That's going to be fine. And where it is a little bit off, it's a little bit over. I'm not quite sure how it would go if it was under, but anyway, it certainly works if it's a tiny bit over, and I think generally it just needs to be pretty close. So we make sure we've got that, and if they're not that way, you'll need to go into your dual rates and expo screen, or the servo settings, whatever has been changed, and change them back. So you got 100 each way. Okay, now for the Spektrum radio, what you do is, let's go back here to our normal set of screen. We press in on the scroll wheel, and we need to go down to telemetry. Okay, so we select telemetry. We then go to our first empty slot, which is number 1 on this one. Okay, I pressed in the wheel to select that, and now I dial the wheel, and I want to go down to TextGen. Okay. So I've selected TextGen, and now it says display active, and so that's fine. So I can go back, and I can go back to the list, and go back to the main menu, and that's now in there. So that is the basic thing. Right now we don't have the receiver bound or anything, so we can't do anything more with it right there, but that's got that ready to go. With a Radiomaster, it already is ready to go. So you don't have to do anything other than make sure you got the plus 100, minus 100s each way with the gains on the sticks. So that's all set to go. Now the next thing that you need to do is you need to bind your receiver. So again, with the DX, we have to go into System Setup. Yes, we're going to disable all of that, and we're going down here to bind. We select bind, get it all set to go, but we're not pressing the bind button yet. Okay, so we plug in our receiver to the power. We've got power. We hold in the bind button, which is this B button right here, until we get some flashing happening. Got the rapid flashing. We then press in the wheel for binding. And that's done. Okay, so that's that one. Of course, the binding on the Radiomaster be very similar. I don't need to go through all of that with you. Okay, so we've bound the receiver. We've made sure that we've got plus 100, minus 100 each way, and all of that type of thing. So now what we can do, since we've got the receiver up and running, is we can, on the Spektrum, we use the scroll wheel, and we go over to the last item here, and voila, Lemon RX. So the pots, aileron, elevator, rudder, it's showing the settings on those, and that's the physical pots on here. So if they've been altered or whatever, that's going to show you what the values are. Something that you could take note of if you are wanting to document what you're doing with your planes and what works with what and all of that type of thing and how you like it. That gives you those precise numbers, so you don't have to just simply say, well, that's about the 12 o'clock position. That's the actual numbers that are involved. It's telling us what the mode is. So the mode is a normal tail right now and dual ailerons. So that's saying 2 channels for the ailerons, but a normal tail with 1 channel for elevator and 1 channel for rudder. Failsafe is off. And with this programming, you don't change you can disable it like that to set it back to default. But if you want to set it and get all of the radio settings into the receiver, you still use the F button like before, this last button over here. So failsafe off. Stabilizing switch is channel 7, and that'd be set up for a switch on the radio. The direction of aileron, elevator, rudder is showing NN on this, and I don't know why it doesn't have a third end. I think there's a bit of an issue here with regard to how many characters the screen can display. So I probably need to edit that to be able to see the third one, because AER is for aileron, elevator, rudder, and then these N's have to do with the normal direction, and there'd normally be 3 N's there, NNN. Just the last one is not being displayed. Okay, and then, yeah, this shows you definitely it's a display issue, so always on, OF, it's actually OFF. It's just missing that last character. And M gain, that has to do with what's been set as to the channel 8, which of course a DX6E doesn't have, and that's basically to say that we need to disable that on this particular radio here. But nonetheless, you see all of the values there. Now, what you do to then edit these is we unplug the receiver, we plug it back in again, and then within 60 seconds we pull sticks down like this. And now it's into the setup mode. And we'll go through that in a minute. So let's unpower this one, and we'll show you the way of doing this with the Radiomaster. Okay, so we've got a Radiomaster. Let me fire it up.
Welcome to EdgeTX.
Okay, we've got
0 amps.
minus 100 plus 100, minus 100 plus 100, plus 100 minus 100, 100, nothing, or minus 100. Okay, so that's all set up with the hundreds the way that it ought to be. So now we're ready to bind the receiver to the transmitter. So we've already got a model named New Lemon. So we go down here to internal RF. We make sure that this is set up to where we want it. So we got multi-DSM X2F. So that's DSM-X version 2F. So that's the one I like to use, the latest one. Get over here to bind, so we're all set to go. We plug in the power.
0 amps.
We press down the bind button. And we got the flashing happening. We hit bind. Okay, so we're now bound. So we can get back out of this. Now, what we do with the Radiomaster and EdgeTX is we go to our system. So we go to System button. We got DSM Smart RX Telemetry, so we go there. We then have TextGen as an item in this menu. So you select TextGen, and right away there's Lemon RX. As with the Spektrum radio, you know, it's got the various items, the difference being that this is not limited in terms of, well, doesn't have anywhere close to the same limitations as that has, so everything displays. And by the way, with the Spektrum, there will be a way to truncate the description part of it so that you can see everything that you need to see. Just needs a couple characters taken out of it, and we'll go through that in a separate little video. I might mention here, well, I guess that we saw it on the other one, that the M gain is displayed, and this one I've got it set to a switch, so, or a dial, so you can see I can change the dial and change that. So that's around about 100 when it's in the middle, and it's going all the way down to 33 at the bottom end, and at the top end 166. Okay, so that's got that. So with this, if we want to be able to change those values, we do the same thing as we did before. Repower it up, pull our sticks down to the bottom sides, and we're now into our menu where we can change things. So and with either radio, when you get to this stage, what you do is the top item there is the menu item. And by pushing your stick over, and sometimes I don't quite hit 100%, you know, a lot of these sticks, you know, if you got a plastic one like what I've got here, I didn't pay the big money for the super fancy gimbals. Sometimes how hard you hit it will depend on whether you get to 100 or not. So if it doesn't work first time, well, just keep trying. Okay, so by going back and forth on the stick, we're changing the item at the top, and that item at the top is to change something down below. But what's displayed down below is everything that can be changed. So where we're talking about change direction aileron, we're just talking about this bottom item on the list. And so you got aileron, elevator, rudder. Right now they're all normal, and so I can say if I want to change that and reverse it, I just simply go down, and now the aileron's reversed. So it hasn't changed any of the other things, it's only changed the direction of the aileron. I can hit it again and toggle it back. So if I go to the second menu item, now I got to change direction elevator. Same sort of thing. If I want to change it, it's altered it. Want it back, I got it back. All of that is good, and we go through there, and we got change direction rudder, change dual aileron. Now, with the dual aileron, where it shows mode here, it's showing two things. It's showing mode, and it's also showing the aileron configuration. So right now it's on dual aileron, which is to say it's using two channels to control the ailerons. It's got one channel and one aileron, and it's using mixing to do the other aileron. So that's what we would be changing here if we alter it, if we toggle between them. We're not changing the mode, we're just changing the aileron situation. Okay? So that's that one. Okay, now, show configuration menu. What this does is that if I don't show the configuration menu, it's just got a limited menu and it only goes through 7 items. But if I change this one, with then all menus available, I now have like 15 items. So it's a good thing to show that to allow you to change everything. Okay, if I've got everything all set up the way I want it, I can now exit and save. And so if I want to do that, I just simply put this lever down, the elevator down. But if I want to keep on going, I keep on going. The next item is to exit without saving. Exit no save. And we continue on. Change mode. Okay, so we mentioned that the mode here is the first bit, and then the dual aileron is the second bit. So if I want to edit this, I've got normal tail right now. Just simply press down, and now I have dual tail. That's 2 elevator channels instead of just one. So if I had 2 servos with a Y connector, then that is going to be a normal tail. But if I got 2 elevator servos that each go to a separate channel on the receiver, then that's going to be dual tail. And that would be true whether they're operating totally together or whether they're operating as elevons. And either way, that's a dual tail. Okay, so after dual tail, we then have V-tail. So just your V-tail situation. RX only, that's where you're not using stabilization. And there's kind of 2 places where this sort of comes into the menu. You've got this one here, and then there's a couple items later where you can disable the stabilization. Okay, so RX only, and then back to normal tail. Go to the next menu item. That's to change the switch that you use for stabilization. So right now it's on
0 amps.
C5 GE, and we don't want it on C5. I'm not sure why that is like that. Yeah, what we want is C7, so channel 7. And channel 5, you know, I like to have for gear. So channel 7 is good. If you know, actually that's why that got changed. We had that in the Spektrum radio, and the Spektrum radio doesn't have a 7th channel. So I think it probably defaulted to channel 5 and it altered that. How do you like that? So anyway, channel 7 is what we want, so that's good there. Okay, now we got this always on thing. So this is allowing us to be able to either permanently leave it on or leave it off. And I say permanently, you know, until you change it from here again. But it could be a situation where, say, you got something like the DX6E, you're limited as far as number of channels, and you just want to say, I just want to leave it on all the time, or leave it off all the time, but not use a switch because they don't have an extra channel to do that. Change TL. TL is throttle low. So if this is set on, when it goes into a failsafe mode, it's going to send a throttle signal at 0% briefly for a short period of time. So you lose signal to the radio. It doesn't just simply stop sending pulses. It actually sends a 0 throttle signal for a short period of time and then quits. So that makes good sense, especially for an electric plane. The reason why they have this is that some low-cost ESCs are going to start the motor unintentionally when there's a transition from a valid throttle signal to a zero throttle signal. And I suppose they're doing that because, you know, maybe they want to allow time for the signal to recover again, and in the meantime keep it going, something like that. But in an actual fail-safe situation, you probably want to just make sure that the throttle gets cut. So this is going to make sure that that happens. Now the question comes as to what about a nitro plane? You don't have ESCs that could potentially be messing up there. And maybe with a brief loss of signal, you don't want the throttle to go all the way back and then maybe have your motor cut out or something. So what I'd suggest is if you've got a nitro plane, try this both ways, just on the bench. Just, you know, have it running, turn off your transmitter with a plane safely restrained on the bench, and see what happens both with this on and with it off, and see which one is going to suit your situation. Cancel failsafe. So you can't set the failsafe here because it needs to pick up all of the control positions and that type of thing. But you can disable it. You can say send it back to the factory default, and the factory default is that if the receiver is not receiving a signal from the transmitter, then it's going to just not send any more signals to the servos. The servos will just simply stay where they are, but it will reduce the throttle down to nothing. Okay. Reset receiver. So if you want to set it back to factory defaults, you've messed everything all up and you just want to start all over again, that's where you do that. Calibrate voltage. So anytime you've got telemetry and you're receiving data from the receiver, such as voltage or amperage or something like that, it's getting a signal that isn't actually the number of volts or the number of amps. It's just some sort of, you know, scale that is arbitrary. And it's always a good idea to calibrate that because it might not be super precise, but it'll be good after you calibrate it. So you look at the particular item, you go into here, calibrate it. This one calibrates the voltage, and the next one will be calibrating the current, I being the corresponding thing for current. And of course, with current, you would not be using just simply a voltage probe, but you'd actually have the thing that goes in the power line between the ESC and the battery to be able to measure the current. Okay, setup and config. That's just simply giving you the year, the month, and the day for the firmware on the receiver to let you know what version you've got. So that's basically it. Everything that you need to know to set that up. Very simple, straightforward. It's nice in that it's giving you the information here. You know, when you're pressing the buttons and watching the lights, what is that? Do I want 2 or do I want 3? You know, and you'd go back to your instructions and you'd say, okay, normal wing, normal tail, R1 and R2. I want 2 lights. Okay. So you had to either remember that or look it up. But here, you can see there it's a normal tail, so that's telling you what it is. But the lights still work. Still 2 lights, indicating a normal tail. Fail-safe is off. There's no green light that's there. So fail-safe is off. So the lights are all consistent with the way that they used to be, so you can see everything there. But you can see it more precisely here without having to refer to just what does the number of lights mean. You don't have to go through things twice like what you'd have to do here. If we wanted to go to a dual aileron, I'd have to add in the 3rd light after having put in the first 2. None of that to have to mess around with. So, really, really good setup. Our congratulations to the Lemon RX team for putting together a good product. And I'm flying a number of planes with this in it right now, and just very, very happy with how it's working. The quality, the stabilization, the control, everything is top-notch. Well, thank you for watching our video. I might mention that the things that we've shared with you today are available in a document that you can download from our website, rcgem.com. It goes through all of the steps of the things that we did today, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, got some illustrations and so forth. So it can be very helpful, even if you've watched the video, to have this at your side to help guide you through the steps and make sure there's no confusion. So go to rcgem.com, you'll find that. Well, if you haven't done so already, subscribe. Have a little circle right there. Click that. Doesn't cost you anything, and it'll keep these videos handy and allow you to be able to see some of the other stuff on our site, which one of the items you'll see right here. So have a look at that, and as always, enjoy your flying. Have a great day. I'm RC Gem signing off.